Peace, family. It's your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. Thank you for joining me here on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel. I wasn't planning to be working today. I wasn't planning to be talking about anything today, but I just couldn't resist jumping into the conversation because some extraordinary stuff is happening in Washington, D.C., y'all, and we got to talk about it. I'm going to give people a second to come on in to the room. Hit the like button right now if you're excited to be here to talk about this crazy issue going on with the Defense Department and Lloyd Austin in particular. It's Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. Also, let me know where you're writing in from. Hit them hit them buttons, man. Hit them buttons. Let me know where you're writing in from. Whether it's from the western part of the United States, whether it's the Western Hemisphere, whether it's the East Coast, whether it's East Side Atlanta, whether it's New York, whether it's wherever, Texas, Florida. We even accept Florida people right now. Akron, Ohio, home of the great LeBron James. And if you come and call it from around the world, right now from around the world, make sure you check us out as well. But by checking in, anyway, y'all, I'm gonna get it going so we can get out of here. But I've been shocked and stunned. I've been shocked and stunned by what I have heard so far over the last few days. There's been some disclosures that have come out about the Defense Secretary, Lloyd Austin. I'm going to paint a picture that I hope gives the context for what has happened. Okay. Lloyd Austin, for those that don't know, is the Defense Secretary. He is the Secretary of Defense. The pretty important job. He's part of the national, what they used to be called informally, the National Command Authority. Basically, two people command the military at that level. It's the Commander-in-Chief, Joe Biden in this case, and then it's the it's the Defense Secretary. It's a big deal. He's part of the National Security Council. Big deal. The Secretary of Defense is part of the nuclear chain. When it's time to launch a nuclear weapon or consider a nuclear strike, he's part of that. Big deal. He's the primary interface between the White House and the military. Big deal. He oversees and helps us think through military strategy around the world, defense strategy around the world. Big deal. Well, last week, Secretary Austin has surgery, an elective surgery. Don't want y'all worrying about the brother. He's okay. He had an elective surgery and on January 1st. Not a big deal. People have surgery all the time. But he then got complications from that surgery, right? And so they hospitalized him. He's currently, as of early this morning, at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. And he's recovering and resting now. He's doing his job from remote. He's fully back in gear. But from January 1st until the day before yesterday, Secretary Austin wasn't doing his job. He was out sick. His second in command, the Deputy Secretary of Defense, her name is Kathleen Hicks, she was doing his job. Other people have stepped in to do parts of his job or to fill in for him in meetings. For example, there was a meeting at the White House last week, according to Jake Sullivan, the National Security Advisor, who said that he was at a meeting last week and Secretary Austin wasn't there. Sasha Baker was. Sasha Baker is a Pentagon official, fully capable of doing the job. No big deal, right? They said Austin's working from home. And it's very common in DC for people to have their assistants, their undersecretaries, their assistant secretaries, other staffers fill in for them in meetings. Not a big deal at all, right? So there's no issue or problem with him not being at work. There's no issue with him having elective surgery. You can't control the fact that you have complications from the surgery. There's nothing that you can do. There's just one catch. He didn't tell anybody. Let me take that back so I don't get sued or something. I ain't gonna say he didn't tell nobody. I won't say he didn't tell anybody. He didn't tell the right people. The Pentagon did not tell the White House. I'm gonna say that again because I know it sounds crazy. It sounds like I'm making this up, right? The Pentagon did not tell the White House. That means that for 4 days, the White House did not know that the Secretary of Defense was not working. Now, this isn't just like a no-call, no-show, like, you don't show up to the restaurant and, you don't tell nobody and you're the manager. I get that. The man has nuclear authority, or he's in the nuclear chain. He's part of the National Security Council. He's part of the National Command Authority along with the president. Again, he's a big deal. And he did not tell the president. He did not tell the president that he was going. Now, here's what's crazy about it. He gets hospitalized on January 1st. Lloyd also gets hospitalized on January 1st. He joined the meeting. This is really giving Andy Bernard vibes from The Office. He joined a White House meeting about what was going on in the Middle East. He joined another meeting last week about Haiti. This is according to Politico. He joined these meetings as if he were working. He was in the hospital, not capable of fully doing his job. The White House didn't know. This is wild, y'all. I know I don't want to make it sound like a bigger deal than it is. It's a huge deal. I told you, Kathleen Hicks, the Assistant Secretary, Deputy Secretary of Defense, she stepped in and did his role on January 2nd. She did the job on January 2nd. Kathleen Hicks did the job on January 3rd. Kathleen Hicks did the job on January 4th. She did not know that he was hospitalized. She was doing the job because sometimes your boss says, I need you to do this job. But she did not know that he was hospitalized. She says when she finally learned of the hospitalization, quote, she, quote, immediately engaged staff on the drafting of a public statement and congressional outreach. She also began to make contingency plans to return to Washington, D.C. on Friday. Oh, let me be clear. She herself wasn't in D.C. She was on vacation. I believe she was in Puerto Rico. She was in Puerto Rico because she was on vacation and she didn't know her boss was in the hospital, not able to be Secretary of Defense. Now, again, the problem isn't that he couldn't do the job for a few days. That we often in this country have secretaries who yield their authority for a day or two, who put somebody else in charge. It's part of the normal bureaucracy, it's part of the normal logistics, it's part of the normal organizational structure of DC and of the cabinets. But you gotta tell somebody. We don't know what the procedure is. We don't know how bad it is, but we seem to think he's okay. And again, he resumed his full duties on Friday, but from Monday to Friday, he was not resuming his duties. He was not doing his duties. And finally, on Friday, the 5th, they released a statement. The Pentagon released a statement. Congress, the people that authorize wars, did not find out that he was in the hospital until maybe a half hour before the statement came out. Again, the Pentagon is trying to make this look like it's normal. They put a statement out and said that the Assistant Deputy Secretary was, quote, prepared to act for and exercise the powers of the Secretary if required. They're basically saying, look, there was no problem. We had an undersecretary, we had a deputy secretary who was fully capable of doing the job. That ain't the point. That ain't the point. You didn't tell Congress until 30 minutes before the statement on Friday. You didn't tell the president for days. The president of the United States did not know. I'm telling you that this is a problem. This goes beyond an error in judgment. It is impossible. It is impossible for someone who has made a career in military, for someone who has come up the ladder of military, which is all about chain of command, which is all about reporting to your superior. You're now the Secretary of Defense. You report to the Commander-in-Chief. and you didn't think to say something? Give you a background on Lloyd Austin, just give you some context. In addition to being the 28th Secretary of Defense, and basically the number one in command about all matters related to defense, National Security Council, all that stuff. The man graduated from the U.S. Military Academy. He also has a commission in the infantry. Just giving you context. He's a graduate of the Infantry Officer Basic and Advanced courses, the Army Command and General Staff College, and the Army War College. He was in the Army for 41 years. He had command at the Corps, Division, Battalion, and Brigade levels. He was awarded the Silver Star for leadership of the Army's 3rd Infantry Division during the invasion of Iraq in 2003. 7 years after that, he would assume the duties of commanding general of the United States Forces, Iraq, overseeing all combat operations in the country. I'm not saying this is a good guy. I'm not saying it's a bad guy. I'm saying obviously what happened in Iraq was awful, disgusting, colonial, imperial, awful. I'm not making any claims about that. I'm saying simply that this brother knows the military. He spent 41 years in the Army. On his bio, it says, after a tour as the Army's Vice Chief of Staff, Mr. Austin concluded his uniform service as the commander of U.S. Central Command, responsible for all military operations in the Middle East and Afghanistan. In this assignment, he led U.S. and coalition efforts to battle ISIS in Iraq and Syria, and then he retired from the Army in April 2016. Okay, and like a lot of people, he's on the board of Raytheon Technologies, Nucor, and Tenet Healthcare. In other words, the military industrial complex, the imperial war machine, he's bound up in all of that. The man got some dirty hands like everybody else. My point isn't to celebrate this man. My point in mentioning all this is to say, this is a guy that knows chain of command. He's no stranger to the military. You are the secretary of the, you tell me you've been a general and you don't know chain of command. You report to the commander in chief and you don't say anything. You just ghost for a few days. Hit the like button if that sounds strange to you. Hit the like button if that sounds strange to you. Why would he do that? Why would this man do that? This don't make no sense. This don't make bad sense, y'all. It just don't. It just don't. And for y'all that don't know, this is what the brother looks like. I want you to see his face so y'all don't. I can add a face to the name. And yes, it's a black man. I don't know if y'all was expecting it not to be a black man, but it's a black man. And I gotta say, just keeping it funky with y'all, because I always keep it 100 with y'all. It really irks me that the one dude that do a no call, no show as Secretary of Defense got to be black. Like what they say, when black people break, we break. Like this dude took the day off, took the week off, ain't tell nobody. I mean, damn, bro. It's hard out here. Jules said maybe he was told to keep a low profile. A low profile from who? He didn't tell the president. He didn't tell Congress. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. I'm going to get to what I think is going on, but I want to send a shout out to Bridget Lois Jensen. Thank you for joining the Marc Lamont Hill official channel. We love you. We appreciate you. That means so much that you join the team here. You help us build this platform up, as do everybody who joins us, as does everybody who joins us. Omar El Hussein, thank you for that generous donation. We appreciate you, brother. Again, you help sustain us. Same thing with Ali Khabar or Chabar, I'm not sure. Thank you so much for the donation. Thank you so much. I appreciate it more than you know. Let's talk about this, right? So the news media is making this a thing, but they're also not making this a thing. Republicans in Congress are beginning to say, wait a minute, this is a problem. Somebody's got to pay for this. Somebody's got to, one Republican said, somebody has to roll. Somebody's head has to roll for this. And they're not wrong. They're not wrong. I don't know if y'all saw this headline from Politico, but it said the Lloyd Austin fallout is growing. Someone's head has to roll. And the reason why people are saying that from the Republican side, of course, there's the normal gamesmanship, right? Republicans are always looking to score points. But there's also a very legitimate point here, which is you cannot be in charge of the U.S. military effectively. You cannot be the most important person other than the president on military matters, especially as there's war in Ukraine, especially as there's war in Gaza. And the U.S. has its dirty fingerprints on all of that. Especially when you're having a military operation in Iraq right now, especially when you're talking about Haiti right now. How the hell are you overseeing all this stuff and you're gone? The Congress has a right to know. The president has a right to know. This isn't like just being inconsiderate. This is irresponsible and dangerous. So you've given the Republicans a very, 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 very clear baton to beat you over the head with. So the question might be why? Why might this man who knows the military, why might this man who knows chain of command, why might this man who understands professional responsibility and ethics do this thing right now? I'm going to give you my speculation, but then I'm also going to tell you what the concrete, practical, indisputable truth is about what this all means. If you all remember, and I hope you all do, when October 7th happened, and people were standing up to Israel, the Biden administration, let me be clear because I don't want my words to be misunderstood. On October 7th, Hamas attacked Israel. In the aftermath of October 7th, Israel launched a bombardment, a full-out bombardment of Gaza. And as that happened, and as the death toll increased, people began to push back against what Israel was doing and saying, this is too much. This is disproportionate force. This is illegal, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And Israel was obstinate. They said, no, we're going to do this because we have to defeat Hamas. We have to defeat Hamas. We have to shut down Hamas. We have to do everything we can to stop the violence. And the way to stop the violence, this is some Orwellian shit, but the way to stop the violence is more violence. Okay? We're going to kill Hamas and then everything will be fine. That's literally what the argument was. And Biden said there's not an inch of daylight between the United States and Israel. France said the same thing, basically. Germany, of course, said the same thing. The Biden administration refused to call for a ceasefire. They still refuse to call for a ceasefire publicly. They refuse to critique anything Israel is doing publicly. But what we saw at that same time, despite that, was very interesting talk from this man we're talking about, Lloyd Austin. Lloyd Austin said that Israel had to be more surgical. They said that Israel had to be more surgical. That was a polite way of saying you got to stop killing civilians. Of course, he's a company man. He's a military man. He can't speak up and speak out in a morally appropriate fashion. So again, I'm not celebrating Lloyd Austin. I'm not trying to give him too many props here. All I'm saying is that he was one of the few dissident voices in the Biden administration that said, this ain't going to work. You got to be more surgical. That's what he said. He also said that the Biden administration, that the Netanyahu administration had to reduce civilian harm in Gaza. He said, y'all can't just go out there and keep killing people. And Lloyd Austin did it in a very interesting way, right? He did it in a very interesting way. What he effectively said was, and he's not wrong. He's not wrong. It might not be my argument, but it's not a wrong argument. What Lloyd Austin said was, all the killing of civilians, all the destruction of public property and civilian property, all the everything that Israel is doing to Gaza is creating more Hamas. It's creating more resistance. It's creating more enemies. That you don't stop having enemies by killing civilians. We should have learned that in Afghanistan. We should have learned that in a million places. So Lloyd Austin has been a dissident voice on this issue. He's been the one who's been speaking up and speaking out. By the way, Abdul Qawi guest. Yes, you got me live. This is a real live. You got me live, brother. Welcome, 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 family. Welcome, family. Kamal, thank you for the super sticker. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I love y'all. Appreciate you. Omega, you've been so generous today. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for the support. So thankful for the love. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, family, this takes me to the point, right? Lloyd Austin has been a dissident voice in the Biden administration. He's been one of the people behind the scenes saying, we're not going to succeed by bombarding Gaza. We're not going to succeed by killing civilians, by being indiscriminate. He's trying to articulate that point in an administration that wants to keep the war drums pounding. Now, again, let's not celebrate Lloyd Austin. Let's not make him a hero. He chose to be in an imperial military. He chose to be part of a war machine. He chooses to advance the interests of U.S. empire. So he does not deserve a pass, a shout out, or anything else. People are dead under his watch too. And if he wanted to be principled, it's not whispering as a voice in the wilderness. It's leave and speak up and be a whistleblower and tell the truth. That's what you do. He's not doing that. So again, I'm not celebrating Lloyd Austin, but it is interesting that somebody with that much commitment to structure and chain of command and transparency and power would suddenly just ghost after half a century in the U.S. military. It don't make sense. It seems to me that what he's trying to do, thank you, Rachel Horning. It seems to me that what he is trying to do is a couple of things. One, maybe he doesn't want to be. Maybe he doesn't want to be in this position anymore. Maybe it's like, I can't leave because if I leave, it makes the administration look bad. And so I'm going to do something so ridiculous and egregious that they have to put me out of the position. But here's the problem with that theory. I don't think that's what's happening, but that's one theory that's been advanced. The problem with that theory is he could have just resigned for health reasons. No one would say a word. And second, this type of situation doesn't just make Lloyd look bad. It makes Biden look bad. It makes Biden look like he's asleep at the wheel, that he has no idea what's happening in his own Pentagon, in his own Defense Department. There's already a narrative that Biden is asleep at the wheel, that he's not mentally competent, that he's too old, that he's too this, that he's too that. There's absolutely no way that Biden would approve a strategy that makes it look like homeboy just bounced. I hear you when you say he can't lead the military, but he did lead. Remember, he retired in 2016. He's technically a civilian now. So that ain't it. Then I said, well, what are the operations happening this week? This might actually be the scandalous part. Maybe he didn't want to, maybe he didn't approve of the killing that is happening, the targeted strikes that are happening right now in Iraq. Maybe he didn't want his hands on the next wave of funding or military support that's happening in Gaza. Maybe he doesn't want to continue to watch an imperial counter-revolution launched from the United States into Haiti. Maybe he doesn't agree. Again, there's a lot of internal pushback. There's a lot of internal pushback in the Biden administration, and maybe he does not want to be held accountable for what's happening right now. Schnuggum says Marc Lamont Hill knows nothing about leading a military. One, you spelling my name wrong. Two, I don't claim to know how to lead a military. My argument isn't here's how you lead a military. My argument is he's led a military, and he knows when you lead a military, you don't ghost, you don't abandon your post, you don't not tell the president that you're going to be out of your position for a week almost. It doesn't make sense. But he did it. Oh, he did it. Lloyd Austin did it. So now the Biden administration is in a tough spot. Why? Well, because the Biden administration can't fire him. You can't ask for his resignation. That wouldn't look good. The optics are bad. The optics are bad. Melissa Hicks, the man can't quietly have a procedure. Yes, the man can quietly have a procedure. He didn't have to tell the media. He didn't have to tell anybody, but he had to tell the president. You cannot, let me be clear. It's not that he had a procedure. It's that he had a procedure that required him to be hospitalized and unable to work for 4 days. If the president of the United States can't work for 4 days, he can't just disappear and not be working. The vice president has to get sworn in as president. Otherwise, he just has chief of staff working. He just has vice president working. You know what that's called? That's called a military coup. That's actually treason. You can't have people just take over the country. There's rules and procedures to this. Now, what Lloyd Austin did wouldn't be a coup, but what it is it's irresponsible, number one, and it's actually outside the boundaries of what the job requires. The Pentagon has to tell the White House when they don't have a Secretary of Defense. What if a war was launched? What if a bomb was dropped? What if, God forbid, there were another 9/11? And the Secretary of Defense is eating Jell-O or fast asleep on pain meds, for example. You can't just ghost. No, I'm sorry. But the problem is the Republicans want blood. And they got President Biden by the short and curlies right now. Because what they can do, what they will do, is say, is there any accountability? The White House already said we didn't know. The White House can't even pretend that they knew. So Joe Biden has to explain now why he didn't know that he didn't have a Secretary of Defense. That makes him look asleep at the wheel. It makes him look irresponsible. To fire him, particularly to fire the Black Secretary of Defense, and I know y'all think he's bringing race into it. I'm not bringing race into it. I'm saying other people will. Race will be a factor. Timing will be a factor. But race won't be the biggest factor, actually. And the timing of it won't be the biggest factor. The biggest factor will be you don't know what's going on, Joe. You're not just cute Uncle Joe anymore. No, now Genocide Joe is Geriatric Joe. Shout out to Tiz Diamond for joining the channel. We appreciate you. Thank you, family. You have no idea what it's like to have you here, man. We love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And Joe Biden can't have that. Now, to his credit, the secretary has made a statement now. He issued one yesterday, in fact. It's an interesting one. It's an interesting one. He says, I want to thank the amazing doctors. I want to thank the amazing doctors and nursing staff at Walter Reed for the exceptional care they delivered to me and the personal warmth. And for the personal warmth they have shown my family. I also appreciate all the outreach and well wishes from colleagues and friends. Charlene and I are very grateful for your support. I'm very glad to be on the mend and look forward to returning to the Pentagon soon. Cool. What about that whole pesky not telling anybody you were leaving? He said, I understand the media concerns about transparency, and I recognize I could have done a better job ensuring the public was appropriately informed. I commit to doing better. Let me be clear. He framed it interestingly. I also understand the media concerns about trans. So he's making it a media issue. The media is worried about not knowing. No, 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 no. This is a media concern. We are concerned as media folk, but this ain't just a media concern, bro. No, 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 no. This is a congressional concern. This is a voter concern. This is a White House concern, quiet as kept. So, family, you gonna have to do more than just say my bad. And effectively, that's what he did. Shout out to Abdul Tawig guest for joining the channel. We love you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's what he did, right? He said, but this is important to say. This was my medical procedure, and I take full responsibility for my decisions about disclosure. So there's a way to read that, and he's saying, don't blame nobody else. This is, I take responsibility. There's another way where he's saying, let me just say this. This was my medical procedure, and I disclosed what I wanted to, almost like, F y'all, forget y'all. It was my procedure, and I said what I said, and I didn't say what I didn't say. There's a way that it could be interpreted that way. But either answer ain't good. The latter one is worse. But even if he's just saying, look, I screwed up, it's all on me, he's damn near daring the Biden administration to do something. I'm not saying he's being difficult or obstinate. I'm just saying that's what it ultimately plays out to be. And so the brother, he's in a tough spot, but the Biden administration is in a tougher spot. Here's what they have to do. They need a real apology, not that BS that you just read. They need a real apology. A real apology explains. I'm going to read something to y'all. You need to show responsibility for what you did. You need to express remorse, and you need to talk about how you intend to make it right. That's what we call the anatomy of an apology. The anatomy of an apology. The anatomy of an apology, right? You break down what you did wrong, you own it, you recognize the harm it caused and what you're going to do to repair it, right? That is the anatomy of an apology. He needs to study anatomy today. This brother needs to stand up and say, I messed up. I screwed up. Here was the danger of screwing up. And here's what I can do to make it right. I'm gonna read some of y'all comments before we go, because I'm making some of y'all mad. A Hill says, Marcus, stop with the contrition trials for Black folks only. I don't got no contrition trials for Black folks only. What are you talking about? When have I ever only called for contrition from Black folk? And let me be clear. I don't give a damn if he's contrite or not. I don't think he needs to apologize. I don't want him to apologize. If my theory is correct and he ghosted from work because he wanted to take a principled stand on what's happening with as I said, the imperial revolution and counter-revolution in Haiti, or what's happening with the strikes in Iraq, or what's happening in Gaza, I'm saying, look, if that's his play to get out of the job and to not have blood on his hands, I ain't mad at that. I'm not asking him to be contrite. What I'm saying is that if I'm the Biden administration and I want to save face, I would demand that from him in order to be successful for the next election. Because the Biden looks like he's asleep at the wheel because he didn't know where his defense secretary was. He's going to have a problem. Jules T said, Mark, you're assuming this is all fact. Maybe Austin was forced or being set up. I'm not assuming anything is all fact. Here's the facts we know. We know he went to the hospital. We know he ended up staying longer than he expected. We know he didn't tell everybody. We know the White House didn't know. And he acknowledges that. Now, if people are lying on him, he's lying on himself too, because he's acknowledged that he didn't tell nobody. His team has said they didn't tell nobody. So he didn't tell nobody. Now, the why of it, I don't know. I don't claim to know. But what I'm saying is, regardless of the reason, it looks terrible. And it's going to give Republicans another weapon. Somebody said maybe Mossad gave him something. Maybe. I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea, but I don't want to just speculate and say, oh, it's the Mossad, it's Israel, it's secret Trump people, it's this, it's that. I have no idea what it is. But what I know is it looks terrible and it's going to cause a lot of people a problem. But I don't think it's what it looks like. And that's why we say, is this a scandal? It's definitely a scandal. It's a scandal because there's a guy who ghosted, the president doesn't know, and we don't know who knows what when. That's what makes it a scandal. Somebody lying. Now, how deep this lie goes, we don't know. The man's connected in a lot of places. Anglo says the man was on the board of the company formerly known as Raytheon. He's literally a merchant of death and enabler of American imperialism around the world. The man doesn't deserve any sympathy. I agree. Remember, that's what I said to you. That's what I said from the beginning. I said, we should not be sympathetic to this man. We should not make him a hero either, because even if he's pushing back against an imperial war, he's still part of the war machine. But something's going on in that White House. Something don't smell right, and we're going to get to the bottom of it. So let's keep staying on top of this story and figuring it out. All right, family. I want to thank y'all for watching tonight. Please hit that like button if you feel what I'm talking about. Hit the join and subscribe buttons too. The subscribe button makes you part of the channel. You go down there, you hit subscribe, and you hit that little bell. Lets you know when we got updates, when we got new videos coming up. Hit the join button. You heard so many people today join the channel today. People like Abdelkawi Guest join. Tis time, join. Other people just showed love by dropping something in the super chat or the super sticker. Kamal, Rachel, Omega. Thank y'all so much. Ali, thank you so much. Omar, thank you so much. Bridget, thank you so much for joining. Family, hit that join button, hit that like button. And as I tell y'all, if you want to help expand this channel, another way to do it is to make a direct donation. You can hit MLHTV on Cash App. It allows you to donate directly to us without Cash App taking its cuts out. It allows us to advance programming, advance our bandwidth, literally our bandwidth. It allows us to get more editors, to put more videos up, and to add more voices to this channel. People like Mumia Abu Jamal, who's on the channel. Please check out his podcast with me. It's called The Classroom and the Cell Podcast. You can get it right here. Check out all the videos we've been rocking and rolling every day this week, every day for months now. So check out all the old videos, catch up with what's going on, especially that 5 myths about Israel and Palestine video. It's something that you should watch, and it's something that you should share. Make sure you do that. All right, family. I'll see you later. Peace.